Well, the story is real, and anytime you're using delicious beer, you make the whiskey and put it in the barrel, you're showcasing what you used. And to be able to just get a tanker of Racer 5 and focus on the hops, focus on that 2-row malted barley, and really just make a full-bodied whiskey with that, I mean, I love it. You know, it's exactly what I want to do.
First introduction to actual craft beer or beer itself was when I was in the Army. I had several business ideas. I had this idea that we could try to put together a brewery, and Bear Republic kind of came founded from that when we brewed the first batch, and it was what I like to call my best mistake or my best recovery. So I had the hop profile for Red Rocket in my head, and I grabbed the wrong hops and I threw them into a beer called, at that time it was our House IPA, and made a mistake. Still to this day, I don't know if it was the 5th or the 6th or the 7th batch, but I had a love for Speed Racer, and I had made a rule, and it's a rule we try to follow today. If we ever made a batch of beer and it wasn't what we said it was going to be, we're not going to try to pass it off as what it was supposed to be. So I had this beer that was supposed to be Springtime Strong Ale, and it turned into Racer 5. So I call it my best recovery because it was too strong, too hoppy, too bitter, all these things that didn't equate to the word balance back then. And eventually over time, it turned into what we have today.
I first tried Bear Republic beers in 1997, came up and tried the beers, and I loved all of them. But I told my parents, there's no way this brewery's gonna make it. These beers are way too aggressive, and they're just way too big. They have way too many flavors, and they're gonna scare people. So, you know, here I am 22 years later with the opportunity to help make these incredibly full flavored, intense beers. Racer 5, we won 6 Great American Beer Festival medals with that beer, and we're very proud of it. It is really the archetypal West Coast IPA, and we're really honored to be able to put it on a tanker and get it to Marko to make delicious whiskey.
Yes, that's right. I always loved it because I agree. It was the West Coast definition of IPA. We were in need of a really good beer to start making more whiskey with. I called down. We made an appointment, and we got to hang out with Richard and Peter, and it was just amazing. And these guys are just sweethearts to work with. The family is amazing. It's a real honor for us to be able to work with these guys and to get tankers of Racer 5 at a time. It's just a dream come true.
Those first initial meetings, literally with all 5 of us sitting at tables, talking about ideas, recipes, concepts. I mean, there was a lot of exchange of, like, if you could go back in time and be able to try to be a fly on the wall to understand what was going on, well, it was really cool. All trying to learn flavors. Everything was about flavor. How we were going to capture and create essences that could take this and move it to the next level. And it started a fun journey for me, and I'm excited to be a part of all of it. So
I think we started talking in 2008, and then 2009, and then 2010 we started getting tankers.
yeah.
We were doing a lot of experimental test batches, like Richard was saying, changing the yeast in the same mash bill, but having 3 separate brews with 3 separate yeasts, made 3 different beers, made 3 different whiskeys. I mean, it was just, that's cool.
The concept of a hop flavored whiskey, and I know that Charbay, I believe to this day, was the first person to ever put it on a label that said hop flavored whiskey. That was really important to make sure that we captured those essences and those flavors. And part of that is mechanical, part of that is just the magic of the distiller and what he puts into his love into that process.
Well, you know, just the fact that we're using a cognac still, a Charente true alembic pot still to make whiskey it's ridiculous. It's super slow. It's not as efficient as a column still, and it's an art form. To run it properly, you've got to know what you have to know what you're looking for, and you have to wait for it to come off the still. An alembic still that's meant to distill wine. Wine doesn't have very much CO2 gas in it because wine is relatively flat. But when you run beer that has a lot of CO2 in it, that's a whole nother beast. So we've had to adapt. And a lot of times whiskey stills have methods to handle that CO2, to handle the expansion, to handle the blowover. And so what I've had to do is kind of trick the beer into boiling, and that took some time, but I've got it down now.
I feel like sometimes we're trying to figure out what he wants. We don't know what the end will be, but through that whole experimentation, we learn a lot, right? So if you're challenged as a brewer in your craft, then we're challenging him at the end. So I think you're gonna see a lot of really fun stuff. We've been experimenting with whiskeys that we have made for our product. We've never released it yet, but they all have his hand in it. And so I think at that point, you're really gonna see some of the magic that's happened over time.
We've got the Racer 5 IPA into the R5 whiskey. The Big Bear Black Stout is the Whiskey S. We also made a straight malt whiskey as well, and barrel aged that, and we blended. We took 10 barrels of our whiskeys and then put it together and made a blend called Doubled and Twisted with all three of those. And so we have 3 of them that are in the market.
And and we make in a week we make 35 batches of Racer 5, give or take. So I think we're on batch 11,000 right now. So anytime you have an opportunity to do something repetitively, you sort of round off the edges and make it smoother, more refined. And Racer 5 really set a benchmark for what that style of beer should taste like. So it really defined for a lot of people what a West Coast IPA is.
I appreciate it when someone asks me, so how's R5 made? And I'll tell them, well, it could go in a can, it could go in a bottle, it could go in a keg, or it goes into a tanker and it gets turned into whiskey.
I think because of the relationship that Miles and Marko have and Rich has with his dad, the companies are very closely aligned ethically in terms of being quality-oriented companies. And Marko asked us a question, and our first reaction is, how can we make this work for him? Not no, or we can't do that, but how can we make this work? So it's been a great relationship.